I've just cat me pants.
Oh, hello.
Please put down your weapon. You have 20 seconds to comply.
Or I will definitely fuck you up!
What?
That it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Ah, fuck you!
One ugly motherfucker.
Whoa, small balls. I was not expecting small balls.
Yeah. Man. Wow, man, freaked out.
Question is there wall chicken? If you know, you know.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director.
Someone isn't gonna like that.
I don't care.
Just a flesh wound.
Yeah.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm good, bro. How are you? I was waiting for the meh. The old one.
Yeah, I took that out. I should put that back in. I should put that back in.
Yeah, that one's too much. That one gets me all the time.
I don't know if you noticed that was a bit longer because what I've done is where I did loads of different ones, I've sort of got all the best bits and put them into one. So
I thought you forgot it's actually a stream. It's not just a show off of your skills of cutting your face and stuff.
I do like messing about with things. Though. It's like when he had 209 where he's like, or I will definitely fuck you up. Like I had to get that in there because that's from Full Metal Jacket,
of course.
So yeah, love it. But like even bits like this, I like this sort of clip, right?
But shut up, Wesley.
Shut up, Wesley.
Comes in handy. So,
definitely.
I suppose we should probably explain to anyone who's watching that we don't have Martin tonight because unfortunately he's had a family commitment come up. I can't talk about it tonight. Yeah, he had something unexpected come up, so he contacted me a couple of days ago telling me he wouldn't be able to make it, which is unfortunate because we missed him on the last one as well, I think, didn't we, Chef?
Yeah, I think it's, listen, I love Martin. I like to talk. As you know, I love him very dearly. So, yeah, I can't say too much, but yeah, no, it's all good. He'll be back, and he's got things to do. Bless him.
Well, I hope so, because if we get time, I want to try and do a Christmas one because
Oh, definitely.
I'll talk about Christmas movies, isn't you?
Oh, of course. Obviously, Die Hard.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot something. I forgot your intro.
Oh, burger!
Burger! Love a bit of Lee Evans.
Right, okay. Well, I think we've left our guest sitting in the back while we've been messing about for a bit long. So I'm going to introduce our guest. His channel will be linked below. So if any of you guys enjoy anything that that goes on in this, please go over, drop him a sub and a comment and watch some of his stuff. I watched one of his videos and it was all about the importance of physical media and that. And obviously I've said similar things. I imagine even you have at some point on another, Chef.
Yep.
And so I reached out and and we got him on here tonight. His channel's called Pedro's Movie Cavern.
Pedro?
Yeah, I know. It's funny, isn't it? Because we've got VHS bootleggers.
I know,
He's Pedro, isn't it? Yeah, I know. Yeah. So basically Pete. Hello, Pete. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm good. I'm good.
Like I was saying, I really enjoyed your video. In fact, I've watched quite a few of them, and even your most recent one, I thought you made some really valid points on that as well. So, like I say, I've got your channel in the link in the description below. So hopefully, a few people go over and check you out today. Right.
That would be cool. That would be very cool.
Have you been on YouTube long?
Yeah, a long time, 13 years.
Oh, really?
But I've only ever, I only post like very, very, very shitty looking DVD and Blu-ray updates that no one watched. But then I was watching a video a couple of weeks ago where people were just talking about buying Blu-rays, and I just thought, well, you can tell everyone to buy these Blu-rays, but if you're going to end up like this, just overrun. So that's why I put out the sad reality of a collector, of how it'll take over your life and financially ruin you at some point. That you'll find it difficult to get out of. So that's why I put that video up, and that video just went mad.
Yeah, the cold hard truth from the PMC, Pedro's Movie Cavern.
See, one of the
never mind.
See, one of the things that I've tried to do so that you don't end up spending too much is that I replace my DVDs with Blu-rays if and when I see them. And normally that'll be like a charity shop, say £1 per Blu-ray or whatever. So that way I'm not really breaking the bank each time I replace it, That's the kind of rule of thumb I try to stick to. That, or, if I sit on Music Magpie or whatever. But I do normally try and get secondhand, so that way you're saving a bit of money. And I suppose you're kind of doing your bit as well, because you're not causing more landfill, are you? You're kind of doing your bit for the planet, I suppose, at the same time. So that's what I try and do. Although I've got to be honest. Yeah. I mean, at some point I would like to upgrade to 4K. But again, I'd probably do the same thing with that, just wait until you see them secondhand, pick them up,
Or do what I do, Lee, and just buy them on Laserdisc. You've already got them on video, DVD, and Blu-ray, and now you're going even backwards to buy Laserdiscs.
No.
Lunatic stuff.
That is not, no. It's like some of you guys collect VHS, didn't you? No, I'm not doing that. No.
Some of them. You got to have some of the ones. Come on.
No. They take up too much room for starters. I mean, don't get me wrong. We know from the days of microcomputers that tape lasts longer than discs. We know this. I mean, C64 tapes, Spectrum tapes, Amstrad tapes, they're still going.
Yeah,
you've got mega CD discs, they're disc rotting, So
I'm going to find you a Laserdisc. I'm going to find you a Laserdisc, a cheap one, and I'm going to get it for you.
You know I live in a flat, right?
It's fine. You'll find a home for it somewhere, mate.
Oh yeah, probably along with me when the wife kicks me out.
Bless him.
Right. What's everyone drinking? I've got a nice bit of Disaronno and Coke tonight in my Star Wars glass. That's an OG trilogy, I should point out. None of this Disney shit.
Classic Pepsi Max.
Pepsi Max Cherry in a glass.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice.
And then maybe a coffee. I don't
know. See, I'm not drinking coffee this late, Christ. Right, let's have a look at the chat. Let's see who we got in here. Actually, it's quite quiet at the moment.
Well, you know what as well, Lee? It's Champions League night, and obviously, Arsenal's on and that.
Oh, mate, is it?
I forgot, because I was like, I'll do the stream, And Arsenal, I was like, it's all right, it doesn't matter. We're through anyway.
That explains a lot.
Man United were on earlier. Arsenal's on now, and then obviously tomorrow is Liverpool, Aston Villa, Brighton, West Ham, and tomorrow Rangers.
Oh well, they'll have to watch it back afterwards. Right, so we've got Alex in here, U-Star Gamer. Jamie's a good bloke. He's been following me right from the get-go, so he's been watching me for over 3 years now. And I mean, obviously, I do a bit of everything, and I'd say probably Jamie. I think he's probably more games and movies. Like he does like a movie film. Yeah,
that's me.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah. Then we got Paul Retro Bait. Now Retro Bait Pete, he likes his VHS, same as Chef does. So if you've got any of them, you'd probably enjoy some of his stuff. Yeah. And then you've got you saying hello to Paul there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should probably explain why we're doing this stream, because me and Chef did a stream recently. What was it, about a month ago? Maybe a bit longer? Probably a bit longer, wasn't it? About superhero movies and how we felt that they were taking a downward spiral and we might be seeing the end of the comic book movie as we know it.
Yep.
And obviously in that stream, we got at one point talking about basically our action movies are starting to make a bit of a comeback.
Yep.
As a result, I think, because this is the thing, I think really comic book movies sort of took over from the action movie genre. And now as a result, as we're seeing like comic book movies starting to dip a bit, the action movie feels like it's coming back. I have got some figures just to sort of back up what I'm saying here. But before I get to that, Chef, what do you think?
So we had a discussion, and I think we spoke about a few. I think I'm trying to think what it was, but it was at the time, if you remember, I just watched Extraction 1 and 2, and I said to you like these were like proper throwback to Red Scorpion. I say Red Scorpion, like the classic 80s action movie, but just I'm guessing done on I want to say larger budget compared to probably back then. I'm sure it must be, but they had a real 80s feel to them, especially Extraction, because no matter what they did to him, he didn't die, sort of thing, So it was very classic. But yeah, I think you're making a big return, and I'm grateful for that, because obviously being 41, I grew up with that 80s Rambo, Commando,
all the good stuff.
Yeah, all the ones that really I feel for me were iconic for our generation, I should say. Our generation, definitely.
Yeah. Pete.
So, I'm 40. I grew up, same as Chef, with Arnie, Stallone, the big guys of the 1980s, watching Commando, Predator, and Terminator and stuff like that. I haven't really seen action movies disappear. I just don't think people are looking in the right place for them. So if you think of, like, if you think of like the big studio films, they disappeared. They vanished as soon as Marvel released Iron Man. That was it. That was the end. Like, you look at the Expendables movies. They were made by Lionsgate. 3 movies. The first 2 were okay. The third one's crap, and the fourth one no one really wants to talk about.
Oh, God!
But then you look at something like John Wick that came out in 2014. No one thought John Wick was going to be a hit, and now John Wick's a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Yeah, same again in 2011. The Raid came out. The Raid came out. It was a foreign language, independent foreign language film. It was made for $4 million, and it made something like $40-50 million worldwide, and it's become this cult classic. Then the Raid 2 comes out. So action movies hasn't gone anywhere. It's just they're not front and center like they were in the 90s and the 80s. But then you've got like the straight to DVD stuff. So people like Scott Adkins and Michael Jai White and even Dolph Lundgren to a degree are still keeping action movies going, but in a straight to DVD, straight to video straight to on-demand format. But like I said, I
Yeah.
don't think they've disappeared. I just think the everyday moviegoer isn't seeing them because they're not front and center like they were 15, 20 years ago. You just got to look in the right place.
Yeah, in fact, actually, yeah, I think how you put it is probably the way I should have put it. You're right. They haven't gone anywhere, but yes, they're not. I think there was a time when the action star and the action movies were number one, weren't they? And comic books, I think, their movies knocked them off that top peg, didn't they, for a while?
Yeah,
but I mean the reason
we're never going to get another Die Hard, so.
No,
you're never going to get another Die Hard. We're never going to see Bruce Willis do that again, ever.
Yeah,
it's the action movie star. Arnold Schwarzenegger's in his mid-70s. Stallone is doing less and less action now because he's in his mid-70s. I mean, the last big thing he did was The King of Tulsa.
Yeah.
So where are we going to go? Who's the next action stars? Like Chef said, he watched Extraction 1 and 2. Absolutely amazing films.
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth could be a huge action star. It could be like they were in the 80s. But
I think he is
it
the
just
only
him?
one.
You can't have just one person.
He seems to be the only one out of them lot from the Marvel movies that's actually got a shot at it, I'd say, because I mean, Chris Evans, I think he might have had a pretty good shot, but then he upset loads of people, and he's pretty much been doing sort of dramas on streaming platforms ever since, you know?
Lee, have you seen The Grey Man?
No. Well, I don't think so.
I don't know if you've seen it, Pete. Have you seen The Grey Man?
It sounds familiar, though.
I have.
You watch Chris Evans in that. It's an action movie with, what's his face? Oh, God, Ken. Bloody hell. From Drive. What's his name? Shit.
Ryan Gosling.
There we go.
Ryan Gosling.
I actually quite enjoyed that film. I mean, it's a bit cheesy, but Chris Evans plays a villain very, very good. He's actually quite good.
I think it's in my watch list. I don't think I've actually watched it, but yeah, now you can't mention it.
You should watch it, mate. It's good.
I've watched loads of stuff where he's in like drama stuff, and it's all right. But I mean,
I think what it is, the same reason with Captain America, why he's kind of took a step back is probably because he said he didn't want to be branded as Cap forever, and I think he's tried to move around. You know, he done loads of like obscure movies, but the Grey Man, he plays a good villain. I don't know what Pete thinks about it, but it was a good Netflix movie, like Extraction.
Yeah,
I thought it was crap. I thought it was rubbish.
Right, cut him off. Get him off.
I thought it was rubbish. I thought it was rushed. It was badly scripted. It was badly acted. I thought the action scenes were rubbish. It's made by the Russo brothers, who made.
Really?
What did they make?
Yeah.
They made Captain America: Civil War, The Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War. So how do they mess up? How do they mess up with a movie like that? That's what I thought it was rubbish. To be honest, there's not a single Netflix action film that I've thought, apart from Extraction 1 and 2, that I've thought has been actually decent. Like Six Underground was awful, just absolutely awful. It was a Michael Bay film. There was a 2-minute shot of a bottle of Captain Morgan's that was just at the beginning. And that's just, I want to watch a movie, not an advert. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Bit of product placement for a bit too long. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Netflix and Apple TV and Paramount and Prime, they're making these action films, but they're not putting any care into it. I think there was one that came out on Apple, which recently that starred Chris Evans, called
Ghost.
Oh crap! What was it? Ghosted. The Ghosted film. Yeah, that's directed by Dexter Fletcher from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yep.
But the film got panned because it was generic, studio interfered crap.
Yeah.
So it's like they're making these action movies, but no one's putting any care into it.
Well, the problem is,
and then you look at something like, go on, sorry.
That's movies in general these days, isn't it? I mean, studios interfere all the time, and that is the biggest problem. Even with the Marvel movies at the moment, you're seeing so much interference that you end up with films that just are incoherent and make no sense. You know, some of it contradicts the law. A lot of it doesn't follow the comics, and me and Chef know that because we buy the comics.
Yep.
And then you've got all the, the woke agenda crap that they chuck in there as well. And I'd say that you're getting a lot of that as well in Hollywood in general, aren't you? So studio interference is a bit of a problem when I think when it comes to most films these days.
Yeah. I'd say Disney and Warner Brothers have got an issue where they need to allow a filmmaker to put their vision on film instead of interfering. Aquaman is out in December, end of December, I think it is. That's had multiple reshoots because of poor test screenings for executives. It's like, well, the executives didn't make the movie; they just put the money up. It's going to make a ton of money anyway, so why continue to do that? I think I grew up, I read comics up until I was like 18, 19, and then I didn't have time, so I stopped buying them. I read graphic novels now, but I used to have all the comics. Spider-Man was my big one. It's Batman. I love Batman. I was big into Marvel, big into DC. I was reading Image comics. Even when there was there was an odd variant company that had like a crossover between Marvel characters and DC characters. It was
Amalgam.
I can't remember what it was called now.
It's called Amalgam Comics.
Amalgam, that's the one. It was like a Batman Wolverine.
I recently picked some up.
I even had them.
I recently picked some up, and it was in my latest pickups video. So, yeah, that's how I know what they're called. I've recently picked up a load of them.
That's how far back I go. It's a really bizarre. Yeah. So that's where I come from. I come from like the 90s comics. Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
But Marvel was like, I think every Marvel movie post Endgame is just they haven't. It's like Disney's version of Star Wars. They haven't had a plan.
Yeah.
Whereas the first 3 phases or first 2 phases had a plan. They were aiming for somewhere. As soon as they hit Endgame, that was it. That was basically the end game because they didn't know what else they were doing. You've got too many TV shows. You've got mediocre movies that are following the same exact formula in each and every film. And people are wondering, and the studios are wondering why the Marvels is flopping. The Marvels has made less money than Morbius.
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
Madness.
I mean, with the Marvel TV series, the reason they don't work is because I don't know if you noticed, but when you start watching it, it ends exactly in the same place it started, and it makes no difference to what's going on in the movies.
Yeah.
So basically, you're telling the viewers, guess what, guys? This is a waste of time. You don't need to watch this. It doesn't affect the movies.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Yeah. And then with DC, you've had James Gunn come in and he's like, I'm rebooting it. So everyone's like, oh, fine. I don't need to watch Blue Beetle or Aquaman 2 because they're not going to be part of it anyway. And so he caused a problem there as well. So, yeah, it's.
Have you seen Blue Beetle, Lee?
Not yet. No.
It's not bad.
I'm not in a rush.
Yeah, I actually thought it was. I thought it was okay. There's some funny scenes in it, like especially with the grandma of Blue Beetle when she starts kicking off. It's quite funny. But I actually thought it was very colourful in terms of how they've done everything, the surroundings, the storylines. I thought was very good. And the big bad boss, as in the psychic, his robotic suit, or in the end thing was actually pretty. I actually quite enjoyed it, and I like the kid. I always forget his bloody name, but he's obviously in the Karate Kid movies, isn't he? The Karate Kid TV show. Yeah. So
I thought Blue Beetle was meant to be the soft reboot of the DC thing, which is it was set up before James Gunn took over, but James Gunn then decided it was going to be like the early reboot
Hmm.
for the new DC.
He keeps flip flopping with it. No one really
Yeah.
knows what he's doing. But anyway, I feel like we're going down a comic book rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
So let's get back to what. Right. So there's a reason why I think action movies are making a comeback, right? When I say comeback, I mean going back to number one. And the reason I say this is because the studios are realizing that they're spending. Well, they tell us it's 200 million, but we know it's a lie. A lot of them are more than that. And they're spending all this money and these movies are failing, right? And we know that action films cost a lot less, right? So there's a lot more chance they're going to be profitable. Now, I've got some numbers here. I'll give you just a few ideas of some of the films that have come out recently, how much they've cost and how much they've made, right? Now, bearing in mind, a film normally, rule of thumb, it's got to make at least double at the box office to break even. So anything more than that's pretty much your profit, right? So, right, Sisu cost $6.5 million and it made $14.3 million. Now, not
Is that all it made?
Yeah, but what you got to remember though, this film was not released here. This was
a
pretty quiet, unknown film. But I tell you, if you haven't watched it, you should watch it. It's great.
Great film.
Yeah, really good film. Right, so more well-known ones. Equalizer 3, right? 70 million budget, 190 million at the box office.
Wow.
Not bad for a third film in a trilogy, right? Because you expect it to be a little bit lower.
And it's not. It's an all right film.
Yeah, it's not bad. The first one's still the best, either way you look at it.
100%, 100%.
Right, John Wick 4.
Whoa.
100 million. Made 440.1 million at the box office. Right? Got a few more. So, Extraction 2. Now, this one's going to be an interesting one because obviously it's a Netflix movie, right? But apparently, according to this, in terms of views, it got 123.9 million views. So it was obviously very popular, right?
Yeah.
You can't really equate that one to money because it was obviously Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Plane. I don't know if you've watched Plane. Not a bad film. Kind of harken back to 90s action movies, I think. Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah.
25 million budget, 74.2 million at the box office.
Wow.
That's average Gerard Butler, that is.
Yeah. And then Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, Part 1, 291 million this cost, made 567.5 million at the box office.
Have you seen that, Lee?
Yes.
Would you say, because when I read that before, and I was like, that film's way more than 200 million, because they spent some money. You can tell.
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's an action movie. They're cheaper, mate. This is the whole point of what I'm saying here, Lee. They're cheaper. They are cheaper.
Lot of jumping around. Good film though.
What you got to remember, like I just said, this one cost 291 million. That's a massive budget for an action film. That is a lot.
Yeah, I guess so.
When you consider the second largest to that one on this list I've got was John Wick, and that was 100 million. So Mission Impossible spent 191 million more than John Wick 4. So,
yeah, well, there's a lot of actors in it as well. A lot more big spending actors. I mean, big paid actors. Sorry, I should say.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is when you're saying that you think they might have spent more than that, they probably didn't. 291's a lot for that film anyway. It is a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, so what you can see there is that, action movies, I mean, they're tried and tested, aren't they? It's worked before, and it's looking now like these studios are starting to realise that people don't want to see the CGI mess. They don't want to go and watch these films, and as a result, they're paying out all this money and not seeing any of it on a return.
Yeah.
I mean, the Marvels, I don't know what the Marvels is now, but I mean that one's flopped hard, isn't it? I mean, it's not even.
It's embarrassing, like they've had so many. The TV shows and the movies have recently been proper. Like, Ant-Man 3. Oh my god, that was bad.
Not even watched it.
I thought I was drunk watching a Star Wars movie, the amount of aliens and shit in it. It made no sense at all. But another great. I loved the first Ant-Man. The second one was okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, they're rough. I mean, I'll be honest. I've watched a couple since Endgame, but I didn't like any of them, and I've kind of just switched off to them now. So, but you know, I before all that came along, I was heavily into my action movies, and I'm glad to see that they're starting to, you know, the bigger studios and even some of the smaller ones are jumping on board and getting it done. You know, I mean, like I say, that Sisu, you know, 6 million, and that was a brilliant film. I loved that.
Yeah,
film. You know?
that was awesome.
That first bit where he starts getting spoilers. If no one's watched it, I'll warn that now. That bit where he's getting sort of like bullied by the German soldiers.
Yeah,
and he turns. Have you not seen it, Pete? Pete, have you seen Sisu?
Nope.
You're not.
Oh,
all right. I won't say nothing then. I won't say nothing.
No, yeah.
I haven't. No, I haven't seen it.
Good
right,
film.
I won't say anything now. I'll keep it quiet.
No.
It's on my list.
You need to watch it. You need to watch it. It's great. Such a good film.
Do you know as well, Lee? Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm just going to say
on my list.
When in the 80s, if you saw, like, for example, a Cannon movie or an Orion movie or a Golden Harvest movie, normally you knew you was going to get something good.
Yeah,
you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, you knew if you saw like Orion, RoboCop, and a few others, and a Cannon movie, but like Golden Harvest was all martial arts, obviously for me, all me Jackie Chan's and all that. So, but now, like you say, I don't know. I don't really know any of the companies. If that probably sounds a bit silly because you got Paramount, you got obviously Disney's ones, but I don't really know them. If that makes sense now.
Yeah, but that's a good thing, see, because what you got to remember, right, is that a lot of these companies, like for example Disney, they go out and they buy everything up, don't they?
Mm.
And then what happens is then they start putting all this nonsense into their films. You know, the message has to come first, then it ends up, then the story comes second.
Mm.
And you know, these smaller companies, they're like, oh, okay, people don't like their films because they're doing this, and they're sort of slotting in where Disney's failing. You know, this is what's happening. So now you're starting to see these little small independent companies, and it's not just happening with films; it's happening with loads of stuff. Comics, for example. There's quite a few people in America that are YouTubers that I watch that have actually started their own comic labels because, you know, Marvel and DC, because it's become all this gender politics stuff and all that sort of stuff that they're pumping into their comics, they've got fed up and stopped buying them, and then decided to actually bring their own ones out.
Yeah.
Like one of the companies that I'd like to get, but they're quite expensive to get sent over, is there's a company called the Ripperverse, and I mean they're doing some great things with comics at the moment.
Nice.
So this is what's going to happen. See, like when these big companies they get too big, they buy everything, they get too big, they think they can start telling you how you should live your life through their movies or their comics or whatever. People switch off to it, and then what happens is a couple of creative people in that community go, "I'm going to do my own thing," and personally, I think it's great because we're now starting to see films like Sisu, you know, like you probably wouldn't have got that, say, 5 years ago, you know, and I actually think that's one of the better films I've seen this year. So, you know, and there's only like a couple of people in that you recognise.
I would say, well, something, especially something with Sisu, it's technically a foreign film, because it's not made by an American film company, so. Like Chef was saying about like when you watch like a Golden Harvest movie, you knew what you were going to get. Yeah. So if you put like Hard Boiled on it or something, and you know you're going to watch a John Woo movie. Same with like the Jackie Chan stuff, like Wheels on Meals, and those like police stories, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That was the thing we had then. So like you said, Orion and Cannon. Like if you put a Cannon film on, you know it's going to be crap, but it's going to be awesome at the same time as well. So like, you know, Delta Force is rubbish, but it's enjoyable rubbish.
Yeah.
It's true though. It's true. Cannon just made crap, but they marketed it in a way that it was entertaining. Like if I was going to watch Invasion USA, again, Invasion USA is Red Dawn with just Chuck Norris.
Yes.
Yeah. But these days you haven't got a company like that. There's no companies that you can. And probably 8711 are the guys who made the John Wick films and Nobody and Atomic Blonde. They're the ones who do, like, because they were originally a stunt coordination team that went into filmmaking. So that's why you've got now every single action film is made by either David Leitch or Chad Stahelski. Like, there's only 2 action movie directors. Sam Hargrave, who directed Extraction 1 and 2. Those were his first 2 movies. He's an action director. The reason that action movies is getting better and better and better now is because action directors, people who choreographed and second unit directors, are now stepping up to feature film directing. Whereas before, and maybe with the exception of someone like Christopher Nolan, the man knows what he wants. He shoots second unit himself, which makes, because he knows what he wants this action sequence to look like. But you need stunt choreographers, you need riggers and stuff like that. You need stuntmen. You can do it on location. You don't need to have a green screen. In the 90s, I don't know if you remember, in the 90s there was a couple of labels. PM Entertainment was one of them, which was Pepin and Merry. They made all these really low budget kind of cop movies. I think Gary Daniels was in them, and Michael Madsen was in a few of them and stuff. And they shot everything practical. So if they wanted to flip a car on a highway in Los Angeles, they'd get a permit for a day, flip a car, clear up, move on to the next shot. You haven't got any single company that will pay out to get a stunt performer to do something like that now. So everything has got to be done on a green screen or a blue screen, or it's done on what they call that thing, the volume from that they used on the Mandalorian, and or motion capture. Everything's motion capture these days. Nothing feels real, which is why I think the Marvel movies, going back to that, I know you wanted to move away from comics, but I think that's why the Marvel movies are failing, is because people are sick of seeing video game cutscenes in a feature film. You know,
not just that. I mean, the CGI is getting terrible as well, isn't it? I mean, the CGI is getting really bad. They're rushing, and sometimes Disney are making changes at the last second. So then what happens is they get behind on the CGI. So as a result, you get some really bad CGI. Some of it's so bad. I mean, you seem better on PS2, you know. But going back to practical effects, that's where you're like Sisu, because that is practical. There's no green or blue screen in that at all. If there is, it's very minimal, because there might be a little bit at one point with a plane, but the rest of it is practical. You know, so
but that's something you can't really shoot.
See, so that's acceptable.
I mean, you say about that. Like, if you think of Mad Max Fury Road, that entire film is practical apart from the sandstorm. That is the only CG that you'll find in Mad Max Fury Road. The rest of it is done practical, and it had to take a 70-year-old filmmaker to come back, make Mad Max Fury Road, to show filmmakers how to do action.
To do it.
How to do it properly. If you do it in Mad Max 2, Beyond Thunderdome, you set yourself up as like the legend of action cinema. And then you see people like Michael Bay continually moving the camera so you can't get a complete like visual of what's going on, or the Bourne movies. Now, I love the Bourne movies. I think they're great.
I like
the fight sequences or the action sequences. It's a mess. It's a mess because you're not seeing the fight. It's cut in between. I think that there's a funny thing online about Taken 3, where it's Liam Neeson hops a fence, but he does it in a way that they edit the clip 11 times. So there's 11 different cuts in a 7-second sequence of him climbing over a fence.
Wow, I didn't notice that.
It's because of people's lack of attention. Apparently, that's what they said.
Oh, wow.
Because the more you edit something, the more people will think it's action. But the people who are actually watching it, you can't make out what's going on because it's all over the shop.
Well, the thing is with the Bond films, I mean,
that was the good thing about.
What I read about the Bond films was the reason they're done the way they are was because it was meant to reflect like almost like someone on his shoulder watching what's happening as it's happening. That was kind of the way I always understood it. I don't know if I'm right on that, but that's kind of like how it feels, isn't it? It feels like you're over his shoulder watching what he's doing. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It is a mess.
Yeah.
What I would
think
say,
with the Bourne films.
No, go on, Pete. Go.
I was going to say, I think with the Bourne films, not necessarily the first Bourne film, but the ones that came after it, is again it's to do with the director. The director has to have a vision of how he wants to see a film. Now, the first film was directed by Doug Liman, who made like Go and what was the other film? He's made quite a few.
That's not a bad film.
He's made loads of good.
And then
good films.
all the films that came after the first, became after the Bourne Identity were directed by Paul Greengrass. And Paul Greengrass is a documentary filmmaker. That's where he comes from, which is why the Bourne sequels all have moving cameras and stuff to make it look like a fly on the wall type of thing, because it's the vision of a documentary filmmator. It's not the vision of an action filmmaker.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So you take someone like, what if John Woo had made the Bourne movies?
Woo!
What if George Miller had made the Bourne movies?
Yeah.
You get someone who's an action film director to direct an action film, then you will have an amazing action film. But if you get a documentary filmmaker to direct an action film, he's going to shoot it in a way that makes it look like a documentary.
Of course,
you
the
get what I
problem
mean?
is
Do you know
also,
what I mean?
I get what you mean. I mean, the problem you got is that, then what happened was the Bond films then copied the Bourne films. So now all the new Bond films are like this as well now. That's the other thing, isn't it?
What I was going to say is that you think about like the Bourne movies. What the first one did was take a very ordinary, plain-faced actor in Matt Damon. I don't know why I'm doing this. It looks professional, but it took a person like Matt Damon to.
It's because of me. It's because I move my hands.
It's the Welsh in you, because Matt Damon is not an action actor. I don't like. I've seen him in Chasing Amy, in Jay and Silent Bob, in Dogma, like all those kind of unusual movies. Even The Martian and all that. Anyway, and then that movie kind of put him there as I don't want to say an action hero, but he put him there as an action hero. And then he done them films, and I enjoyed them immensely. I thought they were great. I thought the music was good. The car scenes, the car chase scenes were great. I thought the baddies like Clive Owen and Carl Urban, I thought they were awesome. And then he went off and made like Elysium and all these other films, and you think, what the hell? And then you talked about Chad, and you talked about Sam, and Sam Hargreaves was Chris Evans' stunt double, stunt double / the martial artist for Captain America. He'd done all the stunts for that. Yeah. And obviously Chad was Brandon Lee's stunt double, and effectively made the film. He made the end of The Crow because obviously Brandon Lee died. So they've all got they've all got a bit of underpinning. But I thought Matt Damon was great, but then when we got him in later on, I think he just proved he was just a puppet, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I think it's because he's not a trained martial artist.
No.
So you don't necessarily believe him. It looked good. He looked good. It looked movie good. It's like Liam Neeson in Taken. Liam Neeson is not a martial artist. He's a 6'5" Irish boxer. He's not a martial artist, but you see him take down that guy at the beginning, and you're like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Oscar Schindler just knocked out a guy trying to kill Holly Valance.
or you think
you've got to actually believe in them.
Or you think the film I always think about with Liam Neeson is Next of Kin with Patrick Swayze, which I love that film, by the way.
With Patrick Swayze, yeah.
I love that. Oh god, like that film, yeah, is awesome. But also as
Bill
well,
Paxton as well in that.
Yeah, there's some great actors in that film. It's a real like, good film. Lee was talking about James Bond movies, and again, they done that with Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig isn't he's not a martial art. I mean, the film wasn't a martial arts film, but the way they filmed it and they shot it, you believed he was always fighting for his life, especially in Casino Royale. He always looked like he was about to die. I know, if that makes sense. Like he was that kind of on the edge all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But then later on, you believed that he was better.
I think the Bond films are a weird one because obviously starting in the 60s and then going through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. The first 3 Bonds were middle-aged men, if you know what I mean. So you had Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and what's his name?
Timothy Dalton.
Roger Moore.
No. Timothy Dalton was. He was only in on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Lazenby. Yeah,
George Lazenby. That's the one.
Yeah,
they're not action movies. They're spy dramas.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So you get to you'd have like an action sequence in the opening of a Bond film, but then a lot of the Bond movies are him chatting to a woman, then chatting to a villain, and then there's something else, and then there's a car chase, and then there's something else, and then he's having sex, and then there's a face off with the villain, and that's the end. That's a Bond. That was like Bond up until then. But then Living Daylights comes out in 1987, Timothy Dalton's first Bond film, and that's an action movie. It's James Bond in the 80s. I know View to a Kill was made in 1983 or 1984 or something. Yeah. But that's still Roger Moore. Roger Moore was late 50s, early 60s.
He was getting too old for that
late
film.
50s,
Yeah, he was too old.
So you get The Living Daylights, amazing Bond film. Follow that up with License to Kill.
Yeah.
Probably the greatest Bond film between up until, I say the greatest Bond film up until GoldenEye, but it's the only film up until GoldenEye because GoldenEye came out.
Yeah.
And then when Dalton couldn't come back or didn't want to come back, and they got Pierce Brosnan, that's when the Hollywood action movie became a Bond film. So you have all these huge stunts, these huge gunfights and stuff. The big showdown at the end on the giant telescope. Then you've got Tomorrow Never Dies, which Tomorrow Never Dies was a bit crap. The World Is Not Enough was a pretty decent Bond film.
Yes. I didn't like Robert Carlyle though. I can't believe him as a villain that like Robert Carlyle.
Well, he's indestructible. He can't feel pain. He can't feel pain. He's got a bullet lodged in his brain. It's like you guys are gamers. Do you remember the 50 Cent game Bulletproof?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't die in it, so there's no challenge to it.
Yeah. I mean, Goldtooth's making a good point here where he's saying probably an unpopular opinion.
That's what Robert Carlyle in The World Is Not Enough seemed like. Brosnan then just kind of the whole Pierce Brosnan Bond just falls off with Die Another Day because it's terrible. It's an awful Bond movie. It's like I saw you guys talking about Star Trek a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
I think you were talking about Star Trek. I'm not a massive Star Trek fan. I love the movies. I'm not hugely into the TV shows. But with the Next Generation films, you can see where it drops off. Yes. You've got First Contact's probably the best of the Next Gen films. Insurrection is just an extended television episode.
Yeah.
And Nemesis is where it just goes down the drain because it was made by someone who didn't give a shit about the product. It didn't care
about
another reason. Any interest.
Another reason why that
because they killed off
No, it's
killed
not
off
just
Data.
that. It's not just that. The other reason is if you actually watch that film and you watch Wrath of Khan afterwards, there's a lot of. It
Oh, it's
copies
very
Wrath of
similar.
Khan. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
why it was
Well, a
basically
bit like
inferior.
what's that film called? There's a film that does that as well. Oh yeah, it's called The Force Awakens.
Oh yes,
Did exactly the same thing.
Oh yeah, and if you watch me talk about Star Wars, I'll say the same on that as well. Yeah, it was just a rehash of A New Hope. Yeah.
Let's go the easy route. But what I was saying about the Bond films is that when I think it was 2002 that Die Another Day came out and it flopped. It was 5 years then before they did Casino Royale. So 2005 Casino Royale comes out, or 2006 I think it was actually, and it's a reboot. So they've rebooted it, but they've rebooted it with the guy who directed GoldenEye. So you know it's going to be in good hands because GoldenEye is a fantastic film. Great action sequences, just amazing. So that film comes out. It's huge. It blows up. Everyone's Bond again. So what do they do with Quantum of Solace? They get the guy who directed the film about the guy who wrote Peter Pan to direct it. So they've gone to the route of hiring a non-action movie director to direct an action movie, which is why everyone hated Quantum of Solace and why it was copying how the Bourne movies were made. With the shaky cam fight sequences and stuff. And it was only when Sam Mendes came on and started making the Bond movies with what was it, Skyfall, that Sam Mendes was a director, technically not an action director, but he knew how to shoot action.
Yeah,
I say he wasn't technically an action director, but he did direct Road to Perdition, so he had sort of directed action sequences.
Good film.
Yeah, so you've got the two follow-ups. You've got Skyfall and Spectre. Spectre's not that great, but it's still got some decent action sequences in it. Yeah, I mean, it's it seemed the whole film seemed a bit rushed, to be honest with you.
Boring.
And they did all right. They did okay, but they're not these big. They weren't as big as they could have been. I mean, Skyfall was fantastic. I loved Skyfall. I thought that was probably one of the better Bond films. Spectre again falls off, like Quantum of Solace falls off. So you get Casino Royale. It makes a ton of money. Everyone loved it. Quantum of Solace, no one liked it.
Yeah.
Skyfall, everyone loved it. Spectre, no one liked it.
Yeah.
And then the final one, was it No Time to Die? No Time
I
to
hate
Die.
that.
I thought No Time to Die was great.
No,
I really enjoyed it.
I think the problem I liked No Time to Die because they done something very different. They killed Bond. That's why I thought it was quite a brave thing to do. I know, like, it gets a lot of shit, and then obviously the girl becomes 007 and all that malarkey. But I just feel that what they did was very bold of them because they've taken someone who we've watched for 60 years plus, whatever it is, and they killed him. And he's been in situations before where he should have definitely died, for example, but he always gets out. That's why I thought it was very brave of them, but at the same time, it's kind of left us in this limbo because I don't know what to expect now because like I love Timothy Dalton's movies back in the day. I thought he got the shit hand. I thought everyone hated on him, but I love these movies. I love those two movies.
He's my favorite Bond.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And the story about him making the third film was more the fact they left it too long and he knew they didn't want him. But regardless, I really enjoyed License to Kill. I thought was great from start to finish. Living Daylights was awesome as well. The music, the car, the story was good. It was a good film. But then I don't know where they go now. I don't want to say I'm scared for him because I don't really care what I feel. But I'm interested and nervous to see where they take it because he is such an iconic character in the UK and obviously worldwide. Everyone knows if you're a secret agent, you're James Bond. In that way.
There's talk. There's talk that they're going to replace James Bond with a female. There is talk of that.
No, the Barbara Broccoli, the woman in charge of Eon Productions, has said that'll never, ever, 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 ever happen. because Ian Fleming wrote James Bond as a male, and to basically disregard 70, 80 years of James Bond for pandering to a female audience, basically,
that doesn't watch their films. That doesn't watch their films.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
The
No one wants to see.
The problem is, though, you're seeing Disney do this with everything, and they're not watching their
Yeah,
films,
but Disney
still
don't
do it.
care.
Yeah, no, Disney
Disney are in it for profit. Disney are in it for profit. Eon Productions were in it for. God,
I've got to be honest with you. The problem is none of them are at the moment. They're all about getting this message out. It's all to do with scoring brownie points with what's it called now? You get like there's some sort of Christ, I heard it on something the other day and I can't think of the name of it. There's like something that like when you get like a credit score for a card, right? There's a thing now that if you mention loads of woke crap or some sort of agenda in, you get your score sort of goes up. And this is what a lot of them are doing.
Yeah, but you do that, you alienate 95% of your audience.
Well, this is it. This is what's happening.
That's the problem. That's the problem that Disney are suffering with. Yeah.
Lee,
also, the internet doesn't help.
No.
Yeah.
Lee, Gold2's had two good questions, but the last one, I would love to know about what Bond who you would pick and who Pete would pick. That'd be
right. I want to keep it short because I'm getting worried that this is now turning into a James Bond stream, right? So, all right, yeah. So, because there's other franchises, especially there's one that's very close to Bond, which I definitely want to talk about because let's be honest, he's the last action hero we got left. But just briefly then, I know who I'd cast as Bond. I would cast Idris Elba. What about you, Chef?
Wow. Okay. Henry Cavill, all the way.
Oh, that's another good one. Yeah,
all
Henry
the way.
Cavill.
All the way. He looks the part. He looks the part, mate. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What about you, Pete?
Back in the day, I would have said Colin Salmon, who was in the actual Bond films.
Yeah.
He would have made a fantastic James Bond. Jude, I think they need to go with someone less known.
Okay.
I think Henry Cavill's too obvious a choice.
But I think he'd be so good.
I mean, yeah, he would be good if he slimmed down from the muscle.
Oh yeah, because
you don't want him to look like Superman as James Bond.
Well, Man from U.N.C.L.E., he was so big in that. Ooh.
Yeah, but saying that, don't forget he was in a Mission Impossible film and he looked pretty formidable in that, and he was big in
looked good, man. He
was huge in that. That's what I mean. So, like, I know Daniel Craig put on some muscle for Casino Royale, but you don't want him to look like a WWE wrestler. He's James Bond. He's not Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good segue. That's a good segue.
Yeah, cool.
Tom Hiddleston, I think, Tom Hiddleston is a good choice. Tom Hardy, no. I love Tom Hardy. I'll watch. Cannot wait for his next film with it's called Havoc. It's from Gareth Evans. I can't wait. I've been following it for like 4 years, and it just
looks
keeps
good.
Pushed back. I think, Tom Hiddleston's probably my
He'd be
choice.
a good villain. Pete, he'd be a good villain, Tom Hiddleston, because
he would be a good villain. I think he would be a good villain, but I think in the King Kong movie he was in, I thought he was pretty good as a hero in that.
He was really good in Skull
Island. Yeah, Skull Island.
Yeah.
Or no, he's a bit too short. I was thinking Taron Egerton, who was in Kingsman.
Yeah, he was another one. Yeah.
But I think he's a bit too short. I mean, he's worn a tuxedo. He's done a tuxedo. He's done action sequences. I don't know. I'd be intrigued to see who they cast. I think Idris Elba would have been a great cast 10 years ago.
That is the problem.
I think he's a bit too old now.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill, like I said, he would be fantastic if he slims down from all the bulk. He would make a great James Bond.
who's that guy? Sorry, the last, and then we carry on. Lee. Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
The one from Sons of Anarchy, who's actually English. I always forget his name.
Oh,
Charlie.
he's in The Gentleman. Charlie Hunnam. Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah. I think he'd be all right.
He can never keep an accent right, though.
Green Street.
Green
all over.
Street.
Yeah.
Is he Cockney or Geordie? Who knows? Is he Cockney or Geordie?
Right. Okay.
But yeah,
quickly get
that's
off
just
James
my
Bond.
choice.
Let's get off James Bond quick. We're falling into a massive hole.
Sorry,
Right.
Lee.
The reason why, when I said good segue, was because I heard you mention Jack Reacher, right? Now, so this was Gold2's comment here. Probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't believe Tom Cruise is in Mission Impossible, although I know he does his own stunts. Now, that is one thing I would say about him. He does do his own stunts, and man, that guy does hurt himself at times as well.
Yeah.
But I love him in Mission Impossible. However, when you were saying about Jack Reacher, that guy's meant to be like 6'5", and you've got a guy that's not even 6 foot playing him. That just doesn't work, does it?
Yeah.
You know. But I do enjoy the
If they
Mission
called it
Impossible
anything
films.
else,
I think he's more believable, Lee, in Mission Impossible because it is Jack Reacher. The way the books read, when you read the Lee Child books, he's just a monster machine. Like he's just like a fridge. And then with Tom in Mission Impossible, it's not just about the fighting; it's about the tech, isn't it? It's all of that. That's why he suits it better, Tom Cruise, in Mission Impossible.
Well, the thing is he's a spy, isn't he? So the smaller and more unassuming he is, the more he blends in. You know, like and I mean, some of the stunts he does in that. I mean, what worries me with that is he ups the stunts each film. It's like, how long is it going to be before he kills himself? Like,
how old is he, Lee? 61?
61 now, I think, isn't he?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Let me double check.
Because he's got one more. No, I think he said he's doing. Oh, hang on.
There's another part to Dead Reckoning. There's 2 parts.
I think he said he's making another one after that, unless I'm not sure now because I get a bit confused. Because
61. He's 61.
61. Okay.
I mean, let's be honest, right? He's our last action star, really. Like, he's our last movie star, like in general. Because let's be honest, right? Most of these other actors, especially the ones that are in Marvel films, they're more known for the characters they play than the actual, like the character's more well known than the actual actor is. You see what I mean?
Exactly that. Do you think Chris Hemsworth would have got Extraction if he didn't do 4? Because before then he did The Huntsman. You know, like The Huntsman?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He did them, and they were pretty shit. And then you saw him in 4 because he was so jacked. You thought, wow. And then he's gone into Extraction, and like you said, whereas the other guys, there's no one. I mean, you know, there's none of the ones. Yeah, Tom Cruise is the only, and he ain't even really an action hero, is it? Action star, not really. You know, but
he's done more action in recent years than anything else, hasn't he? I mean,
before, but in the 80s, I knew him from Risky Business, Days of Thunder, you know, Rain Man.
Days of Thunder is real good. Both the Top Gun films, marvelous.
Top Gun, obviously.
But I mean, talking about the Mission Impossible films. I mean, my favourite one of them has got to be Rogue Nation. I think that's is it Rogue Nation? No, Ghost Protocol. Protocol.
Right, okay, yeah.
That's my favourite one because that's the one when Jeremy Renner first turns up in it, and them two are really good. Like,
they
bounce off each other really well.
And that girl in it, the Latino lady, she's in that one, isn't she?
That's right. Yeah, it's a good film, and the thing is, again, you know, we've overlooked Jeremy Renner a bit. I mean, he is one of them out of the Marvel films that had a good career before Marvel. And he's still doing good stuff now. Some of it's straight to streaming, but he is doing some good stuff. So
I think the first film I think I saw him, was it The Town, the Ben Affleck movie when it's the Irish bank robbers, and I loved him in that. He was real gritty in that.
Yeah, he's in that. And if you remember, he was in a Bourne film as well because he was in Bourne Legacy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
But I mean, like, since then, obviously, like I say, he appeared in a couple of the Mission Impossible films, which I think were the better films because him and Tom Cruise really do work well together in them films.
Yeah, they do.
You You can definitely tell that he's not in them because he's not in the last two. I don't think the last two that we've had, he's not been in them. So
is that probably down to because he had his? No, actually, no. When did he have his accident? No, that was Christmas, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah, that would have been last year.
Yeah.
Did you hear like the amount of like the injuries he sustained? He's lucky to be alive, that guy.
Well,
yeah.
I follow him on Instagram, and he was running up and down his drive, and he he's a lucky boy. Very.
He practically broke every bone in his body, pretty much.
Yeah, oh God.
It's like, mate, how the hell are you
He got
still
run
alive?
over by a truck, didn't he? Basically.
Yeah, it was a snowplow, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, which is even worse, probably. Than you think.
Oh yeah,
well,
yeah, a few ton, isn't it?
Run over by a small tank.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's back up, which is good. I mean, I loved him as Hawkeye. I thought he was great as Hawkeye.
Yeah,
I thought he was great. I'm trying to think what else he's done. But anyway, yeah, great in Mission Impossible, and then I enjoyed him in Bourne because he was different. Not like Matt Damon. It was a different kind of role, if you know, in terms. But I still enjoyed it. More believable, I think.
And I should point out
he
as
was
well.
the. Sorry, Lee. Go on.
I was going to say I should point out as well that these crazy stunts that you're seeing being done in the Mission Impossible films, they're not green screen. Like
No.
There's an element in some of them, like for example, the latest one when he goes off the cliff on the motorbike. They did map out the ramp he used.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
What I'm on about is the actual stunt itself. When he was hanging off a plane, he was actually hanging off a plane.
Yeah.
When he climbed up that building, like, and for a guy that's like, now in his 60s, that's pretty crazy, and you can't take that away from him. I think like he's definitely the best we've got right now, isn't he? And I'm
trying to think who else is there?
That's what I mean. Once he goes,
you're pulling it. You're thinking like, for example, Eddie Murphy. I know he's not an action hero. I'm not saying he is, but you got Beverly Hills Cop 4 coming out. And you think like, really? Like,
yeah, but
really?
the third one was awful. Like,
the third one was so bad.
Really hope they don't do the same as they did with the third one. That was terrible.
I hope they don't because everyone loves Axel Foley. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh God, that film is so bad.
Burn it.
Terrible. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's really not. the only bit I like in that film is the bit where he starts beating the shit out of the guy who's wearing the costume.
Yeah.
In front of the kids. That's the only bit I like in that film. He just like rugby tackles him and starts punching the shit out of him,
Yeah. It's one of them, innit? But let's see what happens with that film, I guess.
There isn't. There could have been, but there isn't. So when The Rock left WWE, he made 2 films. First was Welcome to the Jungle or The Rundown, which was supposed to be. There's a scene right at the beginning where he walks past Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that was the whole scene was supposed to be Arnie passing the torch.
Yes.
He says walk past, and he says have fun or good luck or something like that. So then he does Welcome to the Jungle. It's a great movie, absolutely great film, a lot of fun. Did Walking Tall, another one, good film, great fun,
based on a true story.
But then what happened? The Tooth Fairy he made for Disney. Then he was injected into the Fast and the Furious movies.
We did Doom as well,
and then his ego just went.
What I will say, just to jump in there, I enjoyed the first 2 movies of The Rock in Fast and Furious. I think because I thought he was very
he was good in the 5th one.
Yeah, he was very aggressive, but like you've never seen him like that before. Like he was very, and then he got to the point where he was like, I think one of them he's the the football manager for his daughter's team. Yeah. And then they're calling him up. I was like, come on now, let's stop this now.
Well, did you see the one that he did with when Jason Statham and Idris Elba? I mean, that was bloody terrible, that spin-off.
I quite like Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw. I heard they're making another one.
Don't get me wrong, there was bits that I did like. I mean, I like the bit where they're competing against each other, going through the separate rooms.
Yeah.
And the bit where Jason Statham's getting the guy's head and just keeps smashing his face up against the panel to get the door open. I mean, there were funny bits, but the concept of Idris Elba's character, being pretty much Cyborg, and then the motorbike that literally drives up every surface. It was like, mate, I'm checked out now. This is stupid. Like, you know, that was the
it's
part.
Like what happened to that franchise?
Yes.
Like, what happened to it?
Well,
it went from
you know, Pontiacs in space was where I drew the line. Like, and the submarine as well. Taking a submarine out with cars. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, what I really want to know in that movie is, all right, who was it who said, let's go to space in a Honda, in a Honda Civic? You know, like just all of a sudden, because the first two movies I really enjoyed because I love cars. The third movie, Tokyo Drift, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed it because it was different.
Oh, you gotta be kidding!
Because
it was a terrible movie.
Because it was different. It was in Japan. The fourth film,
it was different.
Threw me because it was completely from nowhere, and I enjoyed it because it was completely different. But I didn't expect them to go where they've gone.
Five was the best one. Five was the best one. Five was the best one.
I'm with Lee. I say, Fast and Furious 5 it's where it reached its height. That whole film is just amazing. The first film is Point Break with cars. The second film is crap.
It's just about the cars. It's just about the cars. The second film.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Tokyo Drift is my favorite Fast and the Furious film.
Oh God, really?
I don't know why. I think the main character, Lucas
Black.
What's his name?
Lucas Black.
Lucas Black. Yeah. So his character is Sean Boswell.
Yeah.
And I thought that character was really good, and they should have followed it up.
Correct.
And when they did follow it up, they ruined his character in Fast and Furious 6.
Yeah, made him a joke in the later one.
I mean, that guy was a badass in that third film.
Yeah.
And now he's just some science nerd with little Bow Wow.
Oh, I guess worse.
Cars, which is
the one where they go to space is the one where they make him look the most stupid, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that whole thing was due to the meme where on Twitter people are like, oh, they've done everything in Fast and Furious except go to space.
Yeah.
And so
and so they did it.
They go to space. Yeah, they go to space. It's the screenwriter probably read Twitter and went, yeah, that's a good plot. We'll do that.
Yeah, probably.
The other problem with them films is that nobody dies and stays dead.
True.
Have you noticed that?
They all come back, man.
Yeah.
Well, have you watched 10? Like, have you seen the end of 10?
I have.
Galbert comes back.
When I saw that, I was like, what are you doing now? What are you doing? Like, you know,
how the hell did she survive?
Exactly.
She didn't survive.
It's impossible.
How do you fall off of a car that's attached to a Hercules plane?
Yes.
Going at God
I suppose
knows
it's the
it's
the cabin in the woods thing, isn't it? Where they say that it's a horror trope. If you don't see the body,
yes, they're not dead.
Then they're not dead.
Yeah.
So you don't see Han's body at the end of Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
And you don't see Gal Gadot's body at the end of Fast and Furious 6. So that leaves it open for them to come back.
Yeah, that's true.
But they were crap characters. Well, maybe not Han, but like Giselle was a crap character. She had nothing to offer at all, apart from looking hot.
She sold out straight away.
Exactly.
Literally, as soon as Vin Diesel. Anyway, yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, like, you know, you saying about not seeing a body. I mean, George Lucas, before he sold Star Wars, actually came out, didn't he? And he said, well, like, Mace Windu might not be dead because, like, we've seen Jedis fall from a massive height and you didn't see a body. And he's right. Yeah. You don't, like, you know, so effectively Samuel Jackson's character, Mace Windu, could still be alive. So, yeah, you are right.
Yeah, but you won't have any hands left.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but let's be honest. Luke didn't have both his hands. Vader didn't have both his hands. So
that's true.
Doesn't really matter in Star Wars, does it?
It'd be cool to see him come back, though.
I mean, look at it, right? People can get chopped in half in Star Wars and come back. Darth Maul did.
Well, well, look at Qui-Gon. He died with the most crappiest way. And then in Ahsoka, literally the same move on that girl didn't even kill her.
Well, it's not even just Ahsoka. And we're going down a Star Wars rabbit hole.
Sorry, mate.
The last thing I'm going to say on that is it's not even just that. It's Obi-Wan, because Reva gets run through not once but twice.
Yeah.
Survives.
Yeah.
it seems that if you're female and you get run through, you survive. It's only if you're a male you die. Unless you're a bad guy like the Inquisitor, then you survive it because he got stabbed. 3 people or 3 incidents where people got run through in one series and they all survived.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's shit anyway. Let's not talk about Star Wars. Fuck Star Wars. Fuck Kathleen Kennedy. Fuck Disney. Right, I'm done now. Got that out of my system. Fuck Kathleen Kennedy. I hate that bitch. Anyway, it's just
the South Park thing was put a chick in it and make her gay. There we go. That's the South Park.
I'll tell you
thing,
what, they couldn't have been more right with that, could they?
Oh, it was spot on. Spot on.
Absolutely hilarious.
Spot on. I mean, she did the same thing with Indiana Jones, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now that's relevant because, you know, it's fantasy, but it's action, you know.
Definitely.
And Harrison Ford, he's done some like action roles here and there, hasn't he? So,
yep. Blade Runner, you know.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say that Indiana Jones, the latest one, was the worst film I've ever seen. But then at the same time, I'm not going to say
it's the worst film in the Indiana
either.
Jones film thing, though.
Worse than Crystal Skull? Ooh,
I don't know.
100%. 100%. At least Crystal Skull felt like an Indiana Jones film. It had Spielberg's touch on it.
I kind of get
Spielberg's hands on it.
I kind of get where he's coming from, right? Because when you watch that, you can actually, like you're saying, you can tell that Steven Spielberg was a part of it still. Yeah, you're right. Like the way it's shot, the way, you know, explosions go on, and it does feel very. Yeah, you're right. And the latest one doesn't. You are right on that. He does make a very good point. Yeah.
Again, this is the thing. Disney spent $294 million making an Indiana Jones film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where'd the money go?
Yeah.
Well,
because the CGI's crap, the plot is crap. Unless like 280 million of that went to Harrison Ford,
possibly.
Where's the money?
Well, wouldn't surprise me. I mean, that's another thing I should ask. Did Harrison Ford injure himself on that film? Because he does on every other, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Probably.
That's probably where most of the money went.
Broke his ankle when he was doing Star Wars. Crashed a plane when he was doing one of. When did he crash the plane? He crashed a plane on a golf course.
Well, the funny thing is, he's been in a film where he actually does crash a plane as well. That's the funny thing.
Didn't he hurt himself in the new
6 Days, 7 Nights?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Didn't he hurt himself in the new Captain America TV show when he's the Red Hulk? I swear I read that. He done, or he hurt someone else. Or maybe I'm wrong. I swear I read that.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. It's nearly every movie now. I mean, you know, I mean,
he is in his 80s.
Yeah. Yes. And I mean, with The Force Awakens, like you said, someone dropped a door in his leg, so it's no surprising that he got a broken leg there. Yeah, because they basically had a door on a pulley for the Millennium Falcon,
and someone let
go of it, and it just fell straight on his leg, like busted ankle. Like, I had a mate that was working security on the set for that, so yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there was a time when Harrison Ford, you know, he was doing a few sort of. They weren't they weren't what you class as an action movie, but he did a lot of films where there was a lot of action in them, like The Fugitive, for example. I mean, that was a great film, wasn't it?
See, I would class The Fugitive as an action film.
Yeah,
action thriller.
Thriller, isn't it? Yeah,
it's not a straight up action film. It's an action thriller.
Yes,
there's a lot of them in the 90s.
Clear Present Danger,
Patriot Games.
Yeah,
I'd say Patriot probably more of an action film than Clear Present Danger.
Yes. Blade Runner.
There's a lot of shootouts in that.
Blade Runner's more for sci-fi, but still got action sequences in it.
Well, yeah, but you get action sci-fis, which is you know,
and even the new,
Aliens.
Yeah, Aliens, good example.
Yep.
I think with the Indiana Jones film, it was more a case of let's get this female, put it in the film, get rid of Marion Ravenwood, who everyone wanted to see, not Fleabag off the TV. Have her bully an old man for 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah,
and then everything be nice at the end.
Do you know what was funny? Right, obviously they had the agenda of, you know, making the woman look more competent than him, make him look silly, and you know, if you notice, it's like a couple of hours of her telling everybody how beautiful and great she is because she's not beautiful and she's not great.
No.
So she has to tell people that constantly, right? But all that did, they're thinking, oh, this is to empower women. All it did was actually make women look really bad. Because if you notice, at every point in that film, not only does she come across like a complete arrogant, self-absorbed twat, but she also seems to go out of her way to try and kill Indiana Jones throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Like, like the amount of times she nearly kills him. And it's like, hang on, you're trying to tell me that she's a redeemable character and that, you know, females are great, but you're actually portraying a really horrible person. Like,
yeah.
You know?
Oh, you don't write a main character to potentially take over a franchise as someone who the audience are going to dislike. Because if you do a sequel where it's Helena Price Adventures or whatever it is, but you know that it's a spin-off from Indiana Jones, no one's going to go and see that because it's not Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana, the first one, Raiders of the Lost Ark, came out in 1980.
Yeah.
1980, 1982, and then 1989, I think, or 1984, and then 1989 were the three original ones.
Yeah.
And who was the audience for those Indiana Jones films?
Us lot.
Us.
Yeah.
Us.
Yeah.
So who was the audience for Dial of Destiny? How many women, and I'm not being sexist or anything, I'm just saying, how many women were given the option of going to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny or the Barbie movie? Who were, like, given the choice?
Yeah.
They're going to go see Barbie, and men are going to go and see... Yeah.
Oppenheimer was the other one, wasn't it? You know?
Yeah. It's like, know your audience and don't ruin a franchise. Like they did it with Star Wars. I know I'm going back to Star Wars, but they've made the focus
Rey
female.
Yeah.
They made her overpowered. They made her what is classed as a Mary Sue. I don't like using that, but they did make her overpowered. They made her the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Which is mind-blowingly stupid. Alienated half of the people who grew up watching Star Wars.
Yeah.
Basically said, yeah, they're for you. These are for these people. But we're the ones who have been watching it since the original trilogy came out. So we're steeped in the mythology of Star Wars, and we're given this trash.
Yeah.
It's like, so I think something like that we should be looking at as I've just seen a comment saying we need another arm wrestling film, and I totally agree.
Over the top. Great film.
Over the top. Lincoln Hawk.
Yeah, great film. Great film.
But this is, again, like what I was saying with Star Wars. You can have a strong female character in a movie and not be pushing an agenda, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you can have Atomic Blonde. Yeah, Atomic Blonde. Like Charlize Theron into Atomic Blonde is incredible.
2 seconds, guys.
I'm basically
Keep
taking.
going. I'll be back in a sec.
No worries, mate. Well, carry on, Pete.
Using Charlize Theron as an example. Again, in Mad Max Fury Road, incredible, awesome.
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver in Aliens.
Yeah, with
Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2.
Yeah, exactly. Like in Aliens, where I remember when I first watched Aliens, for example, and I never saw I didn't see the first movie first, if that makes sense. I saw the second movie.
I didn't either. I saw Aliens first.
Yeah. And then when I saw Hicks, when I saw his character, I was like, oh, he must be the star. Obviously, you know.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. But you could quite easily say it was fair cop. Same as Terminator with Linda Hamilton and Arnie. It was very, even though Arnie is Arnie, Linda Hamilton was great, you know. So and Atomic Blonde, that film for me doesn't get enough love. To me, doesn't get enough love. I thought that film was great. I thought I always forget the other guy's name, Professor Xavier, whatever his bloody name is.
James McAvoy.
I thought he was awesome in it. The way he was like on both sides of the fence, trying to like outdo people. I thought it's just a real good watch, you know. And Charlize Theron, Mad Max. When I saw Fury, I didn't know what to expect because I think we've had Mel Gibson, we had Thunderdome, which was completely not out there, but it was so different than the first one and the second one. They were all very different, you know. And I didn't know what to expect. but I enjoyed it immensely. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great film.
I'm a massive Mad Max fan. Love Mad Max movies. Thunderdome, it feels different is because there was two directors. So there was George Miller and there was George Kennedy. The reason for that is because George Miller had just lost his producing partner. Sorry, not George Kennedy. It was George Ogilvy was the other director. George Miller just lost his producing partner, and he didn't feel like he wanted to make a full movie. So George Ogilvy directed the more like serious drama-y parts, and then George Miller shot the big chase at the end and stuff like that. Which is why tonally it feels weird. Like Thunderdome feels weird because one, it's half Mad Max, half Lord of the Flies, and that's what I think throws people off.
I think
that's what throws people off. Whereas the Road Warrior is man trying to get from A to B, but there's obstacles in the way.
Yeah,
that's what. Like the first Mad Max is a revenge thriller. Second Mad Max is essentially a road movie. Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome is kind of like a Shakespearean tragedy, and then you've got Fury Road, which is let's show Hollywood how to actually make an action film.
There's so many scenes in that film that like just so like even now, even though it's a new film, it's so iconic. There's so many like it's just an awesome film. Great watch.
Yeah. Do you know how new Fury Road is? How new it came out 8 years ago.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's when you think it like that, but because you comparison to Mad Max is not 70. Is it 70? No, not 70. What was it? 80?
The first film came out in 1979.
79.
Late 70s.
Yeah. Road Warrior came out in 82, and then I think it was Thunderdome was 85. So there was 30 years between Fury Road and Thunderdome and Fury Road. But in that 30 years, you had like Die Hard, Predator,
the Lethal Weapons, all them,
Lethal Weapon, So we had all these awesome action films that we all love, that we grew up watching, for a period of, I'd say, from like 86 up until about 96, 97. And then we started having like the kind of lower end studio action films that started to drop off. I think the best example of a studio dropping off when it comes to action films is Eddie Murphy's film Metro.
Yes.
Came out in like 1997, 98, I think it was. And that was the last time you had like the full 18 rated action comedy.
Yeah.
And I think you just don't get like the 48 hours anymore. You don't get stuff like Money Train or they're great movies. And but you get to like the early 2000s and you got films like Swordfish or
I like Swordfish.
Swordfish is a decent film. It's a decent film, but it's more. They've realized that the R-rated action film isn't what people want to see because it's not filling seats. So they start making PG-13 movies.
Yeah.
So you get things like, Swordfish. You get things like the remake of Gone in 60 Seconds. You get, I'm trying to. My head's just exploded thinking of what movies there are.
Yeah.
But then you did get some. You had like in 2005, Man on Fire came out. Man on Fire, Denzel Washington film. Awesome movie. It's an 18. It's an adult action movie.
Yeah.
And then, but it's very rare that you will find an 18 certificate action film. And between 2005 and I'd say now. So apart from The Raid, obviously The Raid was an 18 because it's hyper violent. But a big studio movie, you won't get that sort of adult, aimed at an adult audience action film because it's not sellable.
Yeah, no. In the mid 2000s, late 2000s, I used to think to myself, if the film was not as good as Bad Boys 2, because Bad Boys 2 for me,
that was a good film.
Because you had the comedy, and all of a sudden,
and the action.
It changed to be a very serious film at the end.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, they're cracking jokes around the bombs. You know, it kind of, and that film was so like, oh, that film is like.
Yeah, and then you got the third one, and I hated that film. I couldn't stand it.
The third one was a real. They made that film just to. I thought they made it to finish off the franchise.
I think it worked.
It was very different. I didn't.
I think like the Indiana Jones film. I think like the last Indiana Jones film. Obviously, being the third in the trilogy in a series, not having the same director always hurts a franchise.
I'd agree with that.
So Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny flops because it doesn't feel like an Indiana Jones film. It doesn't have that Spielberg stamp.
Yeah.
Bad Boys for Life also has the same issue. Although Bad Boys for Life was actually, I think it was one of the most successful films of 2019 or 2020 when it came out, because it came out at the start of the pandemic, I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
And,
it was.
I saw it Christmas 2019. I'm sure it was Christmas.
I watched it.
I think I saw it early 2020.
Yeah.
But yeah, that comes out. It doesn't have Michael Bay's stamp on it because it doesn't feel like a Michael Bay movie. It just feels like a Bad Boys film that someone else has made. It doesn't feel like a Bad Boys film that Michael Bay has made. Again, it's the same with the Die Hard films. John McTiernan made the first Die Hard film. Amazing. Rennie Harlin made the second film. It's good, but it's not Die Hard. And then John McTiernan comes back and makes Die Hard with Vengeance.
Best one, 1 and 3 were the best ones.
Die Hard. Yeah, it feels like the first film because it's got that same director energy behind it. You can see that Bruce Willis is having more fun on doing that than he was doing Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
But then they have to take it further, and that's when the franchise starts to go down the shitter.
That's what...
I'm not having a pop at Die Hard 4.0 or Live Free and Die Hard. I'll have a pop at A Good Day to Die Hard because it's shit.
Yes.
With a capital S.
Garbage. Absolutely
never
garbage.
Existed as a movie. Absolute garbage film.
See, I think the reason I got a problem with Bad Boys for Life is because I didn't like Lethal Weapon 4. And Bad Boys for Life rips off Lethal Weapon 4 so badly. Like, it's pretty much the same story, isn't it? That they're too old, they can't do it anymore, and they need the youngsters. And then at the end, they come good and they save the day, you know? Sort of, that's what it is, isn't it? You know? And that was what it was. It was when I was watching it and I'm like, I've seen this before, and I didn't like it when I saw it before.
I didn't like the CGI in it when they were fighting on the rooftop. Him and his son. I just I don't know why they did that.
That doesn't make any sense though. That's a stupid plot point.
Yeah.
There's this like Mike Lowry has this kid with some woman he was undercover with 20 years prior. It's like, how does like Martin Lawrence's character not know about this? They've been partners since 1994.
Yeah.
They're reaching, but what makes me laugh is the kid who his son in the film is actually an English actor. He's not actually Latino or American. He's an English actor. He's in English stuff.
The thing is, did you not see what they were doing with that film? Though they were setting up a spin-off. They were setting up their next sort of trilogy with that film. The plan was
they were trying to set it up with. They did the same thing with the Expendables 3, where they tried to set up Ronda Rousey and that lot as the ones to take off, and everyone just went, "We don't want to watch them. We want to watch Stallone and Statham." But then they've done it again
with the fourth one,
with
which
Expendables
is garbage.
4.
Yeah, oh, it's garbage. It's so bad.
It's because we were saying. I mean, I'm not. I was talking about this to the guys in another group. You know, we were talking about John Wick earlier, but then when I watched the Continental, I actually really enjoyed that spin-off. I know it's a TV show, I know it's not a movie, but the way it's filmed and how long the episodes are, it's like watching another 3-part movie in the Continental. I really enjoyed that spin-off, and I thought it was filmed lovely. And I think Mel Gibson, I thought was awesome in it. But I think that's where you get some spin-offs that do kind of work. But then in Bad Boys, there is talk about them making a number 4. But how that'll work, I mean,
the problem is that these big studios, they won't take a chance now. They have to go with franchises that have already been done before. And
yeah.
This is what they're doing now. This is why everything's a sequel, everything's a spin-off. You know, like it's so watered down because everything comes off of something else or is a reboot of something else. There's no originality at all, right?
Because they won't take a chance on it. Because
exactly,
a certain amount of money into it, and it doesn't make the money back. Then the studios are at a loss. But
going back to what you guys were saying earlier about
they're losing money because they keep rebooting stuff that people have already seen.
Yeah.
Going back to what you guys were saying earlier, I mean, you had Orion and Canon, right? And a good example, them two right there, right? Was that I read somewhere that basically what their plan was because home entertainment was taking off, you know, VHS and all that lot. That basically they greenlit anything just to get videotapes out into the market for people to buy or rent, to watch at home. That's basically what they were doing, right? But of course, you know, these companies aren't around now, so all you're left with is the big companies that play it safe and just go with, or we can do this because it's a sequel, or this is a spin-off from that. They don't take the risks like these smaller companies did.
No.
You know, and these smaller companies are not around anymore. That's the problem.
Well, like you said, they've been bought up, haven't they, Lee? Like you said.
Yeah. They buy them up and they become part of Disney or they become part of Paramount or whoever's bought it. And, you know, it's the same old story. Oh, let's reboot or spin off or sequel. You know, the ones that took the chances were them smaller companies that were bringing things out on VHS, for example. They were the ones. Yeah. I mean, look at Orion. Look what happened with, like, you know, RoboCop, for example. You know, if that was now and that was just, you know, an original idea, no one would be doing that right now. Nobody. I mean, I watched an original film. I say original, and I say it in inverted commas. I watched The Creator the other day. I don't know if any of you used to have seen it, but
not yet. I'm going to watch it.
That film was apparently done on an £80 million budget, apparently, right? But you look at it, it looks like a 200+ million budget, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, the way they got around it was they just got creative with how they were spending the money. So they would shoot all their scenes in the places they needed to instead of going backwards and forwards. You know, they saved money where they could. So ultimately, they made a good film for a very low price, right?
Yeah.
Disney and companies like that, they don't do that, right?
No.
But what I did notice watching this film, as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, some of this don't seem familiar, like, you know. And then I realised why. Have you guys seen who wrote and directed that film?
No.
Yeah, I know who did it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not going to say because, you know, it will kind of steer you in the direction. But, you know, watch the film firstly and then have a look and see who did it and see what else they've done. And then then it'll all become clear.
It's got a very familiar look.
Yes.
To it.
It's got a very familiar feel as well. There's plot points in it, and you're like, I've seen this before. Where have I seen this before? Ah, that's right. That's where I saw that. You know, sort of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, but still, though, you've got to think about it. The way they filmed that film was that they went to these locations. They shot guerrilla style with handheld consumer cameras.
Yep.
And they made an $80 million movie look like a $200 million movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
amazing.
why aren't other studios taking a risk with stuff like that? Original, I know what you mean, but an original IP that can cost less than 294 million. That's the thing. If they take the money that if Disney took the money that they spent on Indiana Jones, how many lower budget action films could they have made? Or not even how many lower budget action movies could they have made? What kind of film would they have made Indiana Jones on a smaller budget?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I can't remember what their official figure was for how much it cost, but I know it was a lie. It cost double what they were
Yeah,
telling
it was like
people.
319 million, 319 or 328 million, I think it was, in the end.
So if you look at that, just from a John Wick 4 point of view, you could have made 3 John Wicks and still had change.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
And which film out of them was more critically applauded and more universally loved by audiences? Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, or John Wick 4? One's a 3-hour Indiana Jones film, and one's a 3-hour Keanu Reeves movie.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, you know, if you go to Sisu worked out, because it was in euros, but it worked out $6.5 million. So imagine how many Sisus you could have made with that sort of money.
Think about Lee.
Think how many Sisus you could have made for the price of Olympus Has Fallen.
Well, yeah.
I like Olympus Has Fallen.
You guys both see. I'm sure you have, Lee, seen the film Upgrade.
Yes, good film.
I have indeed. I have it on my shelf.
Now, Lee, you're in front of a computer. I'm sure I know how much the budget was, but I just want you to check for me because I think it was. I'm gonna say, but they made 70 million, but it was like a £3 or £4 million budget. It was very low. I'm sure it was stupidly low.
I remember watching this when the pandemic hit, I think. And
yes.
Yeah, it is a stupidly low film, as I remember.
And
okay. So it doesn't give a box off. It doesn't give a budget figure. It only gives a box office.
If you Google how much the budget was, I'm sure it's 3 or 4 million. I'm sure it is. And when you watch that film,
it was 3 million.
Okay,
really?
If you watch that film, yeah, I'm sure it was super cheaply. When you watch that film, it's a very polished film. There's lots of bits.
Yeah,
in
it was 3 million. Yeah,
you know, there's the baddies in it, whatever you want to call it, when they've got the shotgun bullets in the arm, and there's so many scenes, and you think to yourself, when I've watched it, and I thought, let me see how much they made this film for, because it seemed very polished, very, very like proper top drawer. And I was like, wow, it's like 3 million or 4, wherever it was I read before. I couldn't believe
it made 17. It made 17, so it was a hit.
17. Yeah. And that film, I thought that film was really good.
It is a good film. When you watch it, you're watching the first bit, and I don't know if you're like me, but the minute they start talking about what it does, I start thinking, hello, I know where this is going. You knew, didn't you?
It's a great film. It is a great film.
Good. It's the voice, without giving it away, the voice when it's talking to him. I think that's funny.
And it's very good. It's not a horror, but it's got lots of gore in it. It is a good film.
And in a lot of ways, it kind of, the funny thing is, you remember when Venom come out? Kind of Venom, the bit where Venom's talking to him kind of reminded me of Upgrade.
Yeah, okay.
It's very similar, isn't it? It's very similar, except obviously one is
also,
a symbiote.
The actor in it, Logan Marshall Green, looks a little bit like Tom Hardy as well.
Yes, yeah, he does. Yeah,
they're very similar features.
Yeah, yeah.
And because I think I first saw him in the Alien movie. Because he's the first one.
Prometheus, isn't it?
Because he gets the bug in his eye, and then I think that's the first time I saw him in that. Then he was in Spider-Man. I saw him in Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was Shocker.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then I saw him in Upgrade, and I thought, wow, because I think I was playing Cyberpunk at the time, or around that time anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is, and then it's very Blade Runner-esque with like the upgrades they've got, and I was just like, it's a real. Yeah. You don't hear many people talk about it, but it is a very, very good film.
No, it's good.
It's got a very John Carpenter style, feel to it as well.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. It is very like a John Carpenter film.
See, I know it's not an action film, but another film that you just reminded me of talking about Upgrade.
Go on, mate.
Is the film Moon.
Moon. Oh, yeah.
It's
Sam Rockwell.
Similar in the fact that it's a very low budget. It's literally just 1 or 2 people. In fact, one of them's a voice and one of them's an actor, which is basically what you get with Upgrade, isn't it? Yeah. And but it's so cleverly done. That's the thing. Like, it just goes to show that you don't need all this money to make a film. Like, I mean, let's have a look. Let's see what Moon was and how much it made. Because, I mean, the other thing I love about that film is the twist in it. Because I got to be honest, I don't know about you guys, but I did not see that coming in that film.
No.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming.
And Sam Rockwell, I think's again another good actor, but I think he's probably faded off a bit now, unfortunately. But I enjoyed that
because the robot in it that's talking to him, or the AI, whatever you want to call it. If I'm right, that's Kevin Spacey that voiced that. I think.
Yeah, it was Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, which is a bit of a shame in some ways because I mean, recent times.
Yeah,
but so that was a budget of 5 million, and the box office was 9.8. So it probably broke even, but I actually really like that film. I think it's a good film.
What would be interestingly is how much it made DVD wise, because because afterwards, I mean, I didn't go cinema because I was like, Moon, what's this? And I watched it. I loaned it from Blockbusters or wherever at the time or whatever.
Yes,
and then I bought it. So it'd be interesting to see what it did afterwards. Like like Big Trouble in Little China, like They Live. All them films didn't do well in the cinema, but they're cult classics now.
Oh yeah, it definitely did better on home video. Or, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's a lot of films like that. I mean, that one definitely. I mean, the thing is, Moon, I think was on. It came out in the cinema in the States, but I'm not so sure it did over here. I think it comes straight out on.
I honestly can't remember.
It released over here, but it had a limited. It was a limited release.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if the film costs 5 million, it's going to cost another 5 million to promote it. So they're not going to pay that much money out to get it into multiple cinemas. So it probably had a very, very limited release.
Yeah.
And then came out. Dread was another one that failed. Dread is awesome. It's a great movie. Fantastic film.
Yeah.
And but the reason that failed in the box office in the UK specifically was because they only released 3D viewings of a 3D showing of it. They never released a standard 2D. And it was at the time where people were starting to get sick and tired of going to see 3D movies. Yeah. So that's why it didn't go out. But Dread made, I think it was something like 3 times its budget back on home video or on DVD sales. And it was like the number one selling DVD and Blu-ray for a long time. So that's the point of my channel.
Yeah.
Is that physical media exists.
Yeah.
And stuff like Dread exists in a 2D version that you can watch in high definition without having to wear, like, I wear glasses. I have to wear glasses on top of glasses if I watch a 3D film.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Do you know something? Something funny that film got. Someone's talked to me about Dread. Said, "Oh, Dread's just like The Raid, same story, but just with a comic book hero." I'm like, no, it's not really. But in terms of it's in the building, I was like, yeah, okay, very loosely.
I kind of see what they're saying, but yeah.
But I was like, no.
Do you know what's criminal about that film was the fact that they never did a sequel.
Well, I've heard
because it flopped.
Yeah, but they was meant to be doing a TV series called Mega City 1, but it never happened.
Yeah, there was supposed to be. But the guy who was supposed to do it, Adi Shankman, he had signed a deal with Netflix to do a certain amount of shows. I think he did like the Castlevania anime.
Yeah, he's done 2 of them. And he's done a few other.
Yeah, I think there's another one that they that he kind of announced at, I think it was Gamescom this year or something like that.
Yep.
But Netflix don't have the budget. They don't have $100 million to pump into a Lord of the Rings reboot TV show like Amazon does. Amazon doesn't have the Bezos money. Netflix doesn't have the Bezos money. So Netflix can't justify putting the money into a TV show that would have to be on such a grand scale to like the Mega City 1. So it doesn't make any sense because if they CGI it, it's just going to look CGI.
Yeah.
So why would they invest in something that only a very small minority of people are going to understand what it is? They're going to enjoy.
Yeah. Can I just say,
a weird one with this is the problem with streaming, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
There's not enough money there to do things that they want to do, which is why they give us mediocre crap all the time. And that's just why people are dropping.
The problem you got is that all the studios have to have their own streaming platform, right? And this is why it's failing, because the thing is that what made Netflix work was when they were renting series or licensing it from other companies, and then them other companies were making money because obviously they were licensing it to Netflix. But the minute they then made their own platforms, now they're losing money because they're showing their own stuff, and the subscription's not paying as much as the licensing for Netflix was. And some of them are starting to figure this out. I mean, if you notice, Sony has not started their own platform. They're not stupid. They know not to do that. They're licensing it, you know? And
yeah.
But I mean, one of the points I wanted to make on Dredd, right, is that the main star, Carl Urban, right? Now, a couple of things about that guy, right? Number one, he wasn't vain, where, you know, and you could throw Stallone in this particular situation. He wasn't vain where he had to take his helmet off like Stallone did in his one.
Mm-hmm.
He kept it on because he knew that that's how the character is in the comic.
Yeah.
He never took it off.
Correct.
I loved that about him. He wasn't vain enough that he had to have his face on screen, right?
Yep.
Number two, I totally believed he was Dredd, 100%. Right?
Yep.
I mean, he even had the mouth right, you know, where he's like out all the way through the film, you know? He did his homework. And then on top of that, the other thing is I just think it's a massive waste that he didn't become an action star, because I really think he should have been, to be honest. He's been in so many films where they you know, do you see what I mean? Like, he's been in a lot of films where he was wasted, you know?
He's good in The Boys. Obviously, that's something. No, he's really good as Butcher.
Yeah.
He's made loads of films, like all sorts. You know, he's in 4. He's in so many films. He's in Ghost Ship. He's in so many movies. Like, he's not got a, like you say, he's not got a. Obviously, he's in Star Trek. He plays Bones, for Christ's sake. He's got such a big circle of movies, you know. But great actor.
I don't mind him as Bones in Star Trek, but I'm sorry, he's no DeForest Kelly. But anyway,
oh, of course, no.
Don't get me wrong, he's not bad at the part, but I'm sorry, you'll never replace DeForest Kelly.
No, of course,
you know. But yeah, I just think he's been criminally underused. I think you see him in so many films, and he's always great in the roles he plays, but it just feels like it feels like with Dredd, he got his, you know, front and center. He's the star, and unfortunately, it didn't work. That's the only problem. The film worked. Don't get me wrong; he worked well in the film, and the film was great. If that was a success, we would have seen Carl Urban in loads of action stuff. I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real
I think
shame.
with Carl Urban, he's more of just a character actor than a straight up movie star, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
He's great in Chronicles of Riddick, where he plays Vaco.
He's
good as Billy in The Boys. Great in Thor, where he's got the 2 M4s or M14s, whatever they are.
That's right. Yeah.
So he's like I said, he's more of a character actor. Like, the stuff he's done in Australia is pretty good. Like Lee said, he's good as Bones, but he's not DeForest Kelly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same as Chris Pine is good as Kirk, but he's not William Shatner.
Oh, mate, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat William Shatner. I'm sorry. It's William Shatner's Kirk, and that's it. It's the same as when they got Cumberbatch to play Khan. My God, what are you doing? Like,
that was always strange, wasn't it?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I love Cumberbatch as an actor. He's great, right?
Yep.
But he's not Montalban. He's not Khan. I don't care.
No,
he can
not.
say he's Khan as much as he likes. He's not fucking Khan. And you'll never convince me that he was. He's just not him. You know?
No, you're right.
You know, like, when you see Montalban playing that part,
that just feels like a last-minute addition.
Yeah. I mean, when you see Montalban playing him, right? Do you know there was a rumor went round that when you see his chest in that, because bearing in mind, I think he was in his 50s maybe when that film came out. He was getting on, and there was a lot of people going, "Oh, it's a fake chest." It wasn't a fake chest. It was because that guy used to do 200 push-ups a day. That's why his chest looked like that. You know. how many push-ups does Cumberbatch do? Like, come on, like, really? You want to try and tell me that that's Khan? Fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and that's part of the reason why that film flopped. I mean, but yeah, we're going off on a tangent now, but yeah. So what do you think, guys? I mean, are you in the same camp as me? Do you think we are seeing a resurgence of action movies? Do you think that really it's imperative that they do this for Hollywood to survive at this point? I mean, we've had strikes, we've had COVID, you know, they're running out of money and they're bringing out these blockbuster comic book films, which ain't working. You know, is it essential now that action movies take the forefront again and start making this money? What do you think?
Yeah. Go on, fella. Go.
Well, I think that if they start make them for less money and make them more enjoyable, that's a good thing. But they also need to make them for people who grew up on action films, not people who grew up on comic book movies or stuff like that. They need to go back to making R-rated, shoot 'em up, blood, squibs, explosions, practical effects. Make a proper action movie.
Yeah,
that's what they need to do. Start making proper action movies, not making a comic book movie, not making an action movie that's based on a comic, but it's not a superhero comic. I don't, like I said at the beginning, I don't think that there's a resurgence. I think there's always been action movies, and people need to start looking at the straight to DVD market, where there's some of the best action films that you will find out at the moment. There are stars there that that need to be brought to the front. So there's people like Scott Adkins. Scott Adkins is like the #1 guy in action movies at the moment, because like he's doing what Van Damme did in the 80s. He's doing what Steven Seagal was like in the 90s. He's keeping that side of the action like genre alive.
Do you know the funny thing with Adkins? He's pretty much like a decade late, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
If he had been a decade earlier, you know what I mean? He would have been like that guy. He would have been top. If he'd have been a decade earlier, he would have been the star. Like that point.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I think there is action movies out there, but people aren't looking in the right place for them.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, when I say like taking the forefront, I don't mean like that they ever went away. I mean like these big studios are now starting to realize, oh, we need to do this. It's cheaper and we can make more money. Like that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, Chef.
I mean, I don't think they've ever gone away. I just think we've just had so much fluff in front of it. You know, they've piped up so much other rubbish that we've kind of forgot about them. And then all of a sudden there's people, oh, have you seen this one? He said, no, because this has been pushed into our face, you know, with the Star Wars stuff and the other rubbish they've chucked at us for the last X amount of years. So I think it's definitely out there, like Pete was saying, but I think you need to be a little bit more savvy and look a bit beyond the trees. You know, when I first saw Raid, I was just like, wow, where has this been? You know?
Yeah.
And as you know, Lee, I love my martial art movies. So, you know, I've always been involved in. I've always loved watching.
Well, you know, I've done martial arts, so you know, I've always been into them.
Yeah, no. So it's, you know, like when I first found out about Choni Jar, and you know, when I watched Warrior King and On Back, and all them movies, I was just like, you know, where had these been, sort of thing. Right. And then, you know, it's I just think, I think what Pete said spot on. I just think that we've just had so much fluff in front, you know, that people have just kind of forgotten about unintentionally. And then watching Extraction recently, I was like, yeah, wow, you know, it is still there. It's just, you just need to go through the trees a little bit, and it is there. But
I've got to say, the first one's better than the second one, though.
I'm with you. But what I will say about the second one is I enjoyed the scene when he's on the back of the lorry and he's got the chain gun and he's shooting that helicopter. I thought that was proper. He's just tearing the arse out of that plane with the chain gun. But yeah, great, great story. When I saw Chris Hemsworth, it reminded me of the Liam Neeson version of Ra's al Ghul in Batman, like the way he looked, sort of thing. Because obviously, they portrayed him as a Marine or an army or whatever he was in that story. Yeah. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I enjoyed both of them. But yeah, definitely there. You just got to have a look for it, I think, mate.
Yeah. I mean, again, like we were saying earlier, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's, you know, like you were saying at the beginning of the stream when we was talking about Orion, Canon, all that, like, you know, where these companies have disappeared, I think this is where you've lost a lot of what came before, if you know what I mean. I mean, this is the thing. Yeah. We lived in a golden era, didn't we? I mean, we lived in a time where original stories were a thing. Action was absolutely at its best.
Yeah.
You know, well, cinema, let's be honest, was
cinema, mate. Even the comedy league, The Burbs, and all those films. There's some great comedy movies that I know were action, but I'm just saying the 80s was just full of all sorts. You had your serious stuff. You know,
everyone you could think of at that time was a star, and everybody knew who they was. You know,
yeah.
And that's the thing. Like now, I mean, the only one you've really got with that major star power that everybody knows really is Tom Cruise at this point, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. I mean,
times have really changed, you know, like, and that was one of the things I loved about Top Gun Maverick. I mean, that film was so well done because when that came out, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to tell you straight, I was worried. I thought, please don't find this film, you know? And when it come out, it was like, see, look, now, you know, he knows what we want. He knows what we want. And, you know, and the thing was, they didn't make him look stupid like they do with all the films now, you know, make him look stupid and the younger ones are better. They didn't do any of that. Maverick comes in and he's like, guess what, guys? You've been flying planes for the last 10 years, but guess what? I'm still fucking better than you lot. And I'm going to show you how to do it properly, you know? And that was what I liked. For once, the hero comes in, the older guy comes in and goes, see you lot, you don't do it right. This is how you do it. And that's what I love about that film. It was the one film that actually did what the audience wanted. And it brought back Maverick and he was the Don, you know, once again, you know?
Yeah.
And this is what these big companies are missing now, you know? It's not fan service. And anyway, since when is fan service a bad thing? When someone's paying to watch your film? Is fan service a bad thing? Because not being funny, when I pay to go and watch a film, I'm paying to have the film that I want to see. Right? Well, that's fan service, isn't it? Like, you know, since when did fan service become a bad thing? Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. What do you think? You know?
No, I think you're right, mate. I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
I think fan service. I think it's why the first two Expendables films works is because it is fan service. Obviously you've got the cast. The cast in the first two Expendables films are amazing. Like that's what we wanted from the Expendables. We wanted the guys that we saw when we were kids, when we were in the 80s and in the early 90s, watching Van Damme movies, Stallone movies, and stuff like that. We don't want Expendables 3 and 4 where they're trying to give us something that we don't want.
Yes,
I think fan service is, to a degree, it's good, but then sometimes it can go the other way. I suppose using again Star Wars as an example, trying to at the end of the Rise of Skywalker, where this woman just hands Chewbacca a gold medal because he didn't get one in the parade at the end of A New Hope.
Yeah.
It's like we had to wait 40 years for that. I mean, they could have just made a passing comment that he got it after the parade. We don't need some woman just to hand him. That's fan service. That is just it's unneeded.
Is it fan service though? You know, did any of us actually want that?
Is it fan service, or is it trying to appease the internet fanboys who are just going hog on Twitter and stuff?
I think it was Jar Jar Abrams just trying to say, see, I told you I was a Star Wars fan. That's what that was. Right? Yeah. You know, that was his ego, I think. You know?
Yeah. Guess.
I don't think that I wouldn't class that as fan service because none of us wanted that, let's be honest. But in saying that, none of us wanted anything that happened in the sequel trilogy, let's be honest. So
no, that's true. That is very true.
I mean, you look at what Ruin Johnson done to the second film in that trilogy. So, my God, who the hell gave this guy that job? Like, you know?
And he said he was a massive Star Wars fan.
Oh, yeah.
He said he was a massive Star Wars fan and didn't get it at all.
I could do a 2-hour stream just on that guy because, like, honestly, I can't stand him. Like, there's so many things wrong with that, but yeah. Well, I suppose we should wrap it up, guys. I mean, we've been going over 2 hours. Not that you'd think it. It's gone really quick. I've really enjoyed the night. It does, doesn't it? When you have a good conversation, the time just flies, doesn't it? You know?
Always the way, brother. It's always the way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed tonight. So like I said at the beginning of the stream, so Pete's channel is in the link below, as you can see by the little tag underneath his thing there. Pedro's Movie Cavern. If you haven't checked him out, check him out. Drop him a sub, give him a like. There's some great videos over there. What we normally do before we go off, we normally just give a quick hint as to anything we got coming up. Chef, have you got anything in the pipeline, mate?
Just getting ready for Christmas Eve special swap shop. Got lots of tubers involved. They're going to jump on for a round and show some bits and have a little bit of laugh, show some videos. Nothing of you, Lisa, don't worry. No videos of you. But other videos and stuff from the...
Do you know what? Explain a bit about Swap Shop for anyone who don't know what Swap Shop is, because...
Yeah, okay, that's cool. So basically it's a monthly live stream where I host 5 other tubers, sometimes 6 other tubers, where they sell their retro items, whether it's a video, Blu-ray, Laserdisc, DVD, board game, video game, hats, like guides, books, anything retro in terms of ideally gaming, but it also stretches out to other things, as Lee knows. We've had all sorts on the channel before.
Even had cuddly toys.
We've had all. We had the coffee maker. We had that tea maker or coffee maker once back in the day.
Yeah.
So and you obviously get to trade with the tubers. Whether you trade in the comments, you say you want the game, and then we trade afterwards, or you buy or you sell. Yeah, it's just a bit of fun. That's been going on now for 3 years, which is crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
You should try and get you on, Pete. Get rid of some of your bubbles of your DVDs and that, mate, or your videos. You know,
it's normally it's normally the last Sunday of every month you do it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the last Sunday of every month, unless I've got something on. So I think the last Sunday of December. We just had it last weekend, just gone for 4 days ago. We had it on the channel, which was really funny, good laugh. Some great stuff was shown. And then the next one, say, is Christmas Eve, which is obviously Sunday this year. And yeah, I'd say try and get as many tubers on from this whole year, and even before, they jump on for 15, 20 minutes, show a few bits, we'll have a laugh, and we'll have a laugh into Christmas, I guess. So yeah, that's about it, mate, for me, I think. Or we should have a second chance comic as well in December. We'll try and work that out. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll try and work one out. Cool. Probably have to try and do it near the beginning of December, because obviously, we're going to be busier, aren't we, at the end of it? But yeah. I'm hoping to try and fit another no late fees in, because I want to try and get a Christmas one in if I can, because there's some pretty good Christmas movies. We need to do a stream on that.
Yeah, we should. I'm off from the 14th, mate, of December. I'm not back now after that till the 6th of January. The 4th of January. So I've got a lot of time off.
Yeah, we'll work something out.
Definitely.
Pete, have you got anything planned for your channel going forwards?
My ideas for videos usually come about 2:30 in the morning, which is why I'm always in a dark making
I
it
know that
dark room
feeling.
because I have this idea. I set up the tripod and I put my phone on there, and then I just record. Everything is just, it's raw. There's no multiple takes or anything. In fact, I recorded 2 videos before I uploaded the latest video, and I deleted them because I hated them. So because they were both on 2 different subjects related to physical media and stuff. But I don't know how many more things I can talk about related to DVDs without delving back into Blu-ray pickups and stuff. My stuff, I don't know if it comes across as quite shitty. Whereas like I'm kind of nasty about people who buy DVDs, but I'm not. It's just I watch videos on YouTube of people who buy Blu-rays and DVDs, and no one seems to really give a shit about the movie. They seem to just care about packaging, and that's what kind of gets on my nerves. So my next video could be in a week, could be in 2 days, it could be in a month. I don't know. It comes to me. I forget an idea, I'll film something and put it up. But yeah, that's why I've been on YouTube for 13 years and only uploaded 74 videos. So
I suppose,
but there will be something.
This is the thing, I suppose. Like, I mean, like for example, with Chef and even with myself, I mean, we do a kind of like a bit of everything. I mean, I've even got a collectibles channel because I've got, you know, I like my collectibles too. I separated that because that made my channel really complicated when I had that on there as well. So, and the thing is, when you're doing all sorts of different things, I suppose it's easy to keep, you know, doing content, you know. But obviously with your channel where you're just covering like just movies or films in general, it makes it a little bit harder for you because you've got less to work with, haven't you, really?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a couple of ideas for some videos. Nothing major, but like I said, I recorded 2 before I posted the latest one, and they were I just didn't like them, so I might end up recording another 20 before I post the next one. So who knows? Yeah. But I could do a video on my Pepsi Max collection.
Oh yeah, please.
You know what?
They'll be gone in the morning. I forgot they were there.
You should do a video on your collectibles that you got on your shelves because you've got quite a few. I've noticed. Like, you should do a video on them.
I've got a couple. There's not a huge amount. I've got a couple of Batmans. I've got about 8 Funko Pops and some Star Wars Black Series. But other than that, I don't really have a huge amount of collectibles. Like, this is, in fact, I've got a Terminator figure somewhere, whose head fell off earlier because I bought it from China.
Oh dear, yeah. There
it is. There he is. He's missing his head.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you don't buy the NECA one, that'll happen.
Yeah, I think this is. Well, it is a NECA one, but it's a Chinese knockoff.
Yeah, knockoff. Yeah,
I'll get him to stand up. A bit of super glue will fix him.
Well, so I suppose I better go through some of the things I've got coming up. So, right, as anyone who's watching this will know, I've been doing my top 10 lists. I've been doing a lot of top 10 IMDb lists, and then I do my own top 10. So I like doing the IMDb ones because they're quite corrupt. I mean, they're owned by Amazon, right? So they're obviously going to sway towards certain things. I mean, the last one I did proved that they've got a real hard-on for Christopher Nolan because they were chucking films in the top 10 of sci-fi, which aren't sci-fi. But anyway, that's besides the point. So I like to do my list afterwards to go, look, this is what should be in that list, you know? But this latest one I've got coming up, this one's not an IMDb one. This is actually my one. And I'll be that will be going up as a premiere next week. And that will be, actually, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to keep it a surprise. So I've got a top 10 movies coming up next week. Saturday, I've got a pickups video going up because I've picked up games, comics, Blu-rays, you name it. It's all in there. So, and there's some nice comics in there. You said Batman, right, Pete? There's some Batman stuff in there, mate. So you'll like that. And also, yeah, that was the other thing. I've got to do a review on the Miu Mini Plus, which is a handheld emulation device. I need to do that. And also, I've got a video coming up at some point on the collectibles channel, and that's me unboxing an Eagle Moss Battlestar Galactica Centurion Cylon.
Oh,
and that's the OG, not the new one, because I don't like the new one. It's the OG. Yeah, I'll be unboxing that. I've got to get that done. So yeah, that'll be coming soon as well. Right, okay. I'll tell you what, Pete, I've loved having you on here. We've got to have you back on at some point. Definitely
Yeah, absolutely.
Again. Cool.
If I talk too much, just tell me to shut up as well. So
No. I've enjoyed everything you've said, to be honest with you, mate. You talk as much as you like. So, in fact, there was a few comments, I don't know if you saw them, where people was like, oh, wow, knowledge. Like, so, it's good. It's good. Right, okay. Don't go anywhere, Pete. I'm going to hit the outro, and I'll talk to you and Chef after the stream. Right, let's find the outro. Where are we?